Hello and welcome to the 12 GMT podcast. It is currently 11:22 GMT. I am Gabe at GVB Horology, and this is Sam.
Sam at Rerun Watches, and at sammil.s, two accounts. Rerun's the business account though. This is attempt 2 at episode 3 because episode 2 was corrupted and we had to backfill basically.
Yep.
So Gabe, what's up with the? Should we wrist checks? I guess
Yes.
we have to.
Let's do that. All right.
Traditional.
I am wearing the new pickup. It is the 3861 Speedmaster in Hesalite. I have it on. It would be really nice if we had our own NATO straps so we could plug those, but we don't. So I'll just plug it for him anyway. This is a Bark and Jack NATO.
They're good.
They're really
He
good,
deserves the plug. Yeah, my dad has
agree.
one that I bought for him. I'm wearing the Baltic MR01, so the micro rotor movement, which is pretty nice. Haven't been wearing it much lately, so I thought I'd chuck it on. And it's a very good looking watch. So, right, let's get right into it. We were going to talk about new watches, and you've just shown yours off, Gabe. So go ahead.
Yeah. So
kind of explain the backstory of how you got that.
Well, I had the Black Bay 58 Blue, and
Yeah.
I was chasing a Black Bay 58 Blue for so long. I couldn't find one in store to try on, and you had them everywhere over there overseas. And you're just like, oh yeah, I just saw 3 in the showroom, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
there was literally 3 in the window. Oh, well, maybe 2 blues and a black or something. But yeah,
Yeah, so I
there's
couldn't
lots.
find any, and I finally grabbed a Black Bay 58 Blue, and I pretty much like not got rid of. I pretty much stopped wearing my Grand Seiko, and I was just like manning the Black Bay 58 Blue, and I think I kind of ruined it for myself. I got bored.
Right, too much at once. Yeah. I think I half did that with the Baltic. I wore it for like a week and neglected all my other watches, but it's come back around now.
Yeah,
Took about a month, but yeah,
and
does happen.
we were talking in our smaller group chat, and I was like, guys, I'm kind of getting bored of the Black Bay 58, and I think it might have been you, Sam, or maybe it was Ben, who will get on the podcast. He was like, well, what else? Like, what else would you want? And I was like, maybe like the new 3861 Speedmaster. And Ben's like, oh, I have 3. And I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, I think we can work something out.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because this Speedmaster is dated December 12th of this year on the warranty card.
Damn.
Yeah, and it's Hesalite, which I wanted anyway. Mostly because the Hesalite has a different bracelet than the Sapphire. Like on the Grand Seiko, these little tiny links are polished.
Mhm.
And it has the same thing with the Sapphire, but on the Hesalite, the whole bracelet is brushed. So
So it's more of like a vintage look versus like a modern polish look. I get
yeah, and
that. That makes sense with Heslite. Yeah.
it's a it's a lot more tool watch ish. I think with the full brushed as well, which I like. And
Yeah, I agree.
I haven't gotten to size the bracelet yet because apparently Omega glues the screws for their links in, which I found out the hard way.
Loctite stuff. Oh,
Yeah.
dear. So you need a really good screwdriver set.
Yeah, so I ordered a set of screwdrivers, like actual ones instead of the ones I have. So, real watchmaking screwdrivers. Those will be here tomorrow and I'll be able to size it up actually.
Nice. Fair enough. Yeah, and I've recently got a watch that I said I wasn't going to get for a while. I think in podcast 1, I was like, I won't have a Rolex till I'm like 25. It's here. I ended up getting offered this at kind of too good a price. So it's maybe we'll put a picture on screen, but it's a Rolex date 15,000. So the 1500 is the normal Rolex date, and then the extra 0 just means quick set. So yep, it was great condition, 34mm, just serviced on a solid Oyster bracelet. So I was just kind of very keen on getting it, and the dealer who had it gave me a pretty fair price, actually a pretty great price, I think. So yeah, I've been posting that on Instagram a lot and enjoying it on my wrist. I kind of stopped wearing my Tudor because they are, I mean, case wise, they're pretty much identical. The Tudor's thinner just because it's manual wind. So it's what's called an Oyster Slim case. But yeah, I don't know. I love the Oyster bracelet. I tried it on a few straps. It's great. It's a very crisp white dial. Got a lot of compliments so far. I don't really care about compliments. I'll put that out. But yeah, I know it's clean. I like it.
I really like
It's not
that
going
one
to
a lot.
depreciate. Yeah, I was eyeing them up because my friend Jackson Time has one, like the exact same reference, exact same dial. And I always saw his, but I didn't really see many others. And then this one came, literally was sent to me by a dealer, and they said, "Do you want this?" And I was like, "Yep." Just have to do it at some point because they're just going to keep going up in value. I think not very
Yeah, you're
quickly.
right.
I think they'll appreciate slowly, but
I
yeah.
think
So that's been the excitement.
you know, you got me kind of. I think I mentioned it before, but you kind of got me hooked on that vintagey. Like, I mean, either way, you got me hooked on 36 millimeter Rolex, kind of. So
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
that's 34, right? Yours is.
Yeah, this is a 34. The vintage cases and the modern cases wear differently in 36, but they're still both great. I actually think the modern ones wear better. The vintage ones can be a bit thick, or like, I don't know, maybe their lugs aren't as beefy, and then the case back seems more thick. But the 34 always wore really well. I have 6.5-inch wrists. Yeah, I think any 36 mil Rolex you'd be kind of set. You can't really go wrong. Everyone wants them, especially like blue dials, black dials. There's lots
Yeah.
of desirable combos. So, I mean,
Kinda,
I have one here. Well, I have a Rolex case, 36 millimeter, which is the Tudor.
oh yeah,
So
that's
that's
a
a
great
date
buy.
day.
If
Yeah.
someone doesn't want to put up Rolex money, but they want a Rolex, they need to buy that from Sam. It's seriously,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like the watch is just insane.
I mean, you can get like a Rolex Oyster Precision for this type of money, but that's like a manual wind 34 millimeter. This is 36. Like time only lit, like basically the bottom of the basket in terms of Rolex, just like the smallest possible men's size,
Right.
the simplest movement, the simplest styles. Whereas this is like 36 mil, which is pretty desirable. It's on a Tudor bracelet, a Tudor Jubilee, also pretty nice to have. I mean, and it's a day, or a date day technically, which is cool.
Yeah,
So
I was actually, just to break off our topic a little, I was hanging out with a buddy over the holiday last weekend, and he was like, "Yeah, we're looking at getting my dad a Rolex so we can really experience what." And he said this. He's like he's one of my watch guys that I actually know in person. There's very few of them, and he was like, "Yeah, we're looking to get him a real watch so we can really feel like what a real watch feels like on the wrist." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, fair enough." And he was like, "We're thinking Rolex." And I was like, "What are you thinking?" And the first thing that popped in my head was two-tone Datejust, because that's kind of like the all-time dad watch. And he goes, "Yeah, we're thinking two-tone Datejust." And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like,
that would suit pretty much every dad.
and he was like, "We can't tell if we want to go 41, because I think they're making Datejust 41s now, right? Instead of 40s."
I think they made the 41 and then discontinued it.
I thought that was the
I might.
date.
Oh, maybe that was the day only. I don't know how it works with
It's
those,
either
but
it's either a date or Datejust 41 or 40, but
there's the Datejust 2, which is 41.
right. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, "We're just trying to figure out if we want to get the bigger or the 36 mil." And I was like, this guy, he's like definitely like a 40, 41 mil type of guy. But my buddy's like, "Well, he's got small wrists." And I was like, well, I mean, he doesn't like the 36. I'll take it off his hands for sure. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think the proportions are always more classic in 36, but 39 can look good on like the OPs. I think they
Yeah.
pulled that off well. But the Datejust 2 to me just looks bloated. I mean, surprised I don't like modern Rolexes as much as vintage ones. That's kind of my shtick, isn't it? It's not a surprise.
Oh, I see those bigger Date 8 models and Datejust models at the Rolex AD I go to, which is like an hour and a half away, but that's close for me. When I go over there, the guy I always talk to, he's always double wristing and he's always wearing two Datejust 2s, always, whenever I see him.
Man,
But they're
fair.
humongous. And dude's a big guy, so he can pull it off, but something about the proportions of those watches just aren't right at all.
Yeah, the bezel always looks a bit fat to me. It kind of looks fake, like
Yep.
in some photos. I'm like, it looks off.
Yeah, they look
Um,
fake to me too.
I don't think I've handled one, to be fair. But yeah, just from photos, and I think I've probably seen it across a room. But
Yeah.
yeah. So next topic is consignment watches. This Tudor is actually a consignment watch, which is from a really good client of mine, who made me very happy by consigning this because I like them a lot, and it's nice to have inventory you like. But I've since the last podcast, I've gotten 6 more consignment pieces, which is pretty. It's kind of a lot, considering the size of my inventory. But I've got like a load of really cool vintage Seiko. So these chronographs I'll show quickly. The green and the orange. That's showing well. Which are really affordable. They're both like I think £400 if I'm getting that right. I think check my website. But yeah, they're all pretty great value props. Okay, 500, not 400. But yeah,
I
it's
really
kind
like
of the
those.
best way of doing business, Gabe. I think you should really consider taking consignments. If you can, like once you maybe set up the business page more and get a website going, it's definitely the way to go. Obviously, you have contracts and stuff to legitimize it, but it's basically free inventory and free content, and then you just take like a percentage of the sale, which is great.
Yeah, my goal is once I get through this situation that I can't talk about yet, I want to get the definitely want to get a website up. I found out that my brother like kind of has a minor in web design, so probably gonna commission him to do web design. He's the one who makes our thumbnails, by the way. He doesn't really want his social medias plugged for some reason, but my brother
He
makes
does
our
a great job.
thumbnails. Yeah,
Yeah, he does really well.
so yeah, the goal is definitely. I'm thinking, I tried converting my GVB Horology into sort of a business account, but I think I might just either totally switch GVB over to a business account, like specifically for consign, buy, sell, or make another account that would go along with the website specifically, like you did with Rerun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. If you're like a collector and you want to keep to collecting, which is what I like doing on my page, it's kind of nice to have a separate account. And then people like, I still plug the business because it's what I do. And it's like, if you follow me and you don't like that I sell watches, then you should probably just not follow me anymore. Like, it's fine. If you just want to see my personal collection, that's what you're going to see like 80% of the time. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's a huge deal plugging it and kind of getting more traffic. But yeah, I don't know. I have like a tiny bit of HTML experience, but I didn't really try. I didn't know. I knew I couldn't build a great website, and I was on a budget, so I just used Shopify, and I've had so much good feedback. I mean, firstly, all the payment processing is really great, and then secondly, like it's so easy to build. Like I know they say like build it in an hour, but like realistically, 6 hours to set up, and then I just kept refining it. And I'll show you how to do little things like having sold items. There's a little kind of trick you do. So when the watch is on 0 inventory and it's like sold out, you can use that and assign it to a sold section, and then that sold section's a page on your website, and then it's pretty clever. It can do some good stuff. So I'm getting kind of hot in this.
Is that all set up within? Oh, so I was under the impression that Shopify was sort of like the service for actually using payment methods, but is it like the whole deal all in one?
But yeah, you have like a Shopify login basically, and you have your own portal, which lets you add products and do everything. It's not like just a hosting service, I think is what you're saying.
Right.
It's not just hosting and payment, it's all built in.
Okay.
And you like pick a strop template and you can get going pretty quick. So,
Hmm.
and I use pretty much everything default because it's clean. I don't really want anything too complicated.
Right.
And it works great on mobile. That's like one thing I like a lot. Um, yeah, we should talk about, which is related to the website, watch photography. Because you can have a really nice website, but if your photos on it
Hmm.
suck, you're kind of screwed. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I think you're the better photographer of the two of us. Um, if you want to start off, kind of what
I
your setup is or whatever.
I was thinking about this earlier because you know it's kind of weird because I found a big difference. Because my photos are staged. I'm just gonna say it. They're staged. Like I specifically stage them so I get good depth of field, and I have like my light. You can't see it, but I have my big dome light, and then I have a reflector, so I'm getting zero shadow, and I'm doing all that stuff very specifically. And I have a feeling that for like smaller watch pages like mine, because I'm sub 1,000, because I've just been kind of chilling out, that people think it's like stolen content. They're like, oh, a page with this low amount of followers can't have great photos. So that's my main problem. But also, like you said, when I go to build a website, I'm gonna be able to use all my own graphics. The background, I'm gonna be able to use my own graphics. You know, headshots that I have of myself. Who I am. Watches especially. I'm lucky enough that I've been taking photos for such a long time that I've built up the gear. So I've got the lighting and I've got the camera and I've got the editing software. And I just think a lot of people base what they're going to buy off the photo. So
Yeah,
if the photo's like taken with a potato, then it's not going to, people are going to be like, oh, well, obviously that was just pulled off Google and that's not the actual watch I'm looking at. But if you do a detailed breakdown of every side of the watch with macro and you have good lighting and people can see clearly and they're impressed with the photo, they're going to be more inclined to actually go after your product because they know it's legit.
yeah. And if you stage like a lifestyle shot, that can make people in their head be like, "Oh, I could see that watch on my desk, or I could see me wearing that watch," and that's pretty. I mean, that's what we're doing on Instagram mostly.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I'm lazy and it is just a product photo to show off the watch, but most of the time I'm like trying to take a cool wrist shot or try to like show it off in a interesting way. Um, I grew my personal Instagram. It's over 3,000 followers now. Um, with like really bad wrist shots on like an iPhone 7. And I think like just the charm of that, and I was obviously engaging with people a lot and chatting to people and making friends. I think that's what grew my following. I don't think it was like I don't have a huge following, but I have like a pretty decent one for the watch industry, I guess. Um, and I think yeah, just kind of kind of bad photography, and then I like moved into. I was probably over 2,000 followers when I like started using a camera, not my phone. And even then, I still take wrist shots on my phone because it's easy. And I like edit. I always edit on my phone. I use Snapseed to like get rid of dust. I started doing that maybe 20 posts ago. It's really valuable. Actually, probably less than that ago. And then I've been just always editing on like the iPhone standard, I don't know, photo app.
Right.
Just well, I'm like really used to it. I know kind of, I don't have a preset, but I can just like quickly go through and like exposure, probably down a little bit, saturation down. Was it saturation down, vibrance up, which is something you taught me with the colors. And it
It's a good
always
one.
looks kind of good. So I'm like, yep. And like, play with the tint and make sure it looks right. Um,
Y-
but yeah, I always aim to make the watch photos look kind of good.
You're shooting the A7, right? The first generation Sony A7.
Yeah, it's here. So Sony A7 kit lens, and then this is a 10 mil macro extension tube.
Right.
So in an ideal world, I'd have a macro lens, like you said. But this is kind of close enough. It's good enough.
Yeah.
Mm, I've learned to use it well. It is a first generation A7, so it's not like It's not super expensive. You can probably pick them up for like £400 or £500 now,
Hmm.
and then the extension tube costs nothing. Um, so I've recommended it to people before.
You know what you
Um,
need with that extension tube? You need a 50 mil f1.8. That's really what you need.
yeah, or I might just jump in and get a macro, but they're expensive, so it's like I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah, I'm
know.
on the Nikon Z6, and actually most of the photos that you see of my watches are shot with the Sigma 50 millimeter f1.4 art series, which it's a 1.4. I like creamy bokeh. I don't really care if the whole watch is in focus. I don't. I've done focus stacking, but it's not the most important thing to me. I like doing product shots, but I care more about the actual art of the photo itself. And the fact that I'm into watches just means that the subject itself can be the watch, which I think is going to be helpful for me because, like you said, those lifestyle shots, like I had that photo of me wearing the Oyster Perpetual 36, doing the good old the watch dude shot like this. It's like, it's such a perfect lifestyle shot, showing you can wear this watch with anything. You're in the outdoors, like whatever.
Yeah, shots like that are useful. And they make your Instagram look more personal, which is nice. It's not just like, I mean, I go on sellers' pages sometimes. It's just like identical product shots with just different watches, and it can look good on like a grid, and it definitely clearly shows off the watches, but it doesn't really stand out on someone's feed. I guess it just looks like watch on a desk or something. Which I shoot my product photos just on like an IKEA desk because it's a really nice wood grain. And then I try to have like one lifestyle photo thrown in at the beginning, just so the website looks a bit more interesting. Um,
I
yeah,
will I
I
will
mean,
say HQ Milton.
mhm.
They do all their photos probably in a light box where it's just completely white, but there's something about their photos that I can't ever pinpoint that is just so like it's just so magical. They're just so perfect. The colors are great. They're desaturated a little bit. They're nice and creamy, but they still have a perfect white background. And that's what I always was trying to do. And I don't know, they follow me on Instagram, which is kind of wild.
Oh, that's cool.
So
Yeah,
I must be doing something right. That at least the photographer followed me on Instagram, so I guess that's
yeah.
good.
It is good when you have like your own, I guess, style of photo. I mean, I can always tell when like our friend Ben posts a watch for sale because he always uses like a black backdrop and he's often holding the watch.
Yep.
And that's like 100% his style. It's really good. Um, right. We're gonna go into like a full depth podcast, I think, on watch photography,
Yeah.
probably with Ben or someone similar who's really good at it. Because I'm like, I know enough to do it, but I don't know enough to like teach it. I guess I just kind of picked it up. Um, I guess next topic we'll talk about, which I've written down here. I received quite a few watches this week, and two of them have ended up broken, um, which is a kind of bad position to be in. I mean, I've already paid the seller, but I know him, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be able to just either return them or get a partial refund. But I got this really nice. I'm really annoyed about this. Really nice Encare with
Mm,
this really great blue dial,
yeah.
and like the case back's brilliant.
Mm,
But it just arrived not running, and I was like, well, I can either get a partial refund and service it, which is probably what I'll do. I might sell it as is because I have a buyer, but I'm not sure. He's not 100%. I'm gonna have to chat to him more, and it's Christmas right now. Well, it's the 27th. I'm gonna have to chat with him and figure that out. But just really annoying. And then the other one, which is also really annoying because the condition's great, this Hoyt stopwatch, which
ah.
so there's a thing with these where they run for 15 seconds and then they'll work fine, like they'll stop and reset up to 15 seconds. So when you test it quickly, it's fine. But I let it run for like a minute and it wouldn't reset, and then it eventually just died on its own. So
Mm. I thought
it's
when
kind
you
of
sent us a photo of that, I thought it was running. I had no idea.
But I tested it, but I hadn't tested it properly because I looked it up and I was like, "Yep, let it run for more than 15 seconds." I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay." And yeah, my worst fears were realized. But you win some, you lose some. It's kind of the risk you take dealing watches. Luckily, this guy didn't ghost me. He knows who I am. I know who he is. I bought maybe 3 watches from him in the past. So, and he delivered other watches, which are great. So, which are going to get listed on the website this coming week, probably.
sweet.
But yeah, just one of those frustrations. I don't know if you dealt with that before or anything, but
I
that was mine.
actually, you know how I was telling you about my watch purgatory, my drawer of watches that don't see the light of day? I have a World Timer Seiko Electra that I was telling you guys about.
Uh,
Um, and okay, this is actually my own fault. I don't know what happened, but it was on the strap. It wasn't a NATO. I can't remember what it was. I can barely find any information about this. I think it's from the late 70s, kind of when Seiko was going back to some automatics, and the bracelet, or not, it wasn't a bracelet, just a strap. It just flew right off, and the Hesalite crystal just broke. It's just shattered, which
mhm.
I'd never seen before. And I have all of the pieces for it, but I've spent hours and hours and hours trying to find a replacement crystal, and they just don't exist, like, anywhere. So I just can't do anything with the watch.
Yeah. Is it like a press fit crystal where you can't use a standard one? You have to have a special one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does happen. That's another risk. Sometimes I buy a watch, I'm like, just needs a new acrylic, and then like it takes my watchmaker like a week to find that acrylic, and I'm like, okay, damn, was that worth it? But
And, that
it
watch
normally
is
is.
that watch is so cool because it has what looks like two pushers and a crown, but a it has three crowns. It has an internal rotating, it has the normal crown, and then another internal rotating. And the top and bottom adjust the time zone. So the watch is so cool, and it's like a great size. It's like 40 millimeters. It's like, dang, yeah. That's the only kind of experience I've had with that. But that was all my fault, I suppose. But yeah,
Yeah,
I can't imagine paying for something for the business just for it to come broken. And I know you expect that you're gonna have to get your watches serviced, right? Because that's kind of part of the business. But also
generally, yeah.
when it's
I
advertised
mean,
as running, you know.
well, yes, it's when I guess a collector just says, "Oh, it's running," but I don't know. I generally take that as I'm going to calculate that it needs a service, and if it doesn't need a service, that's just extra kind of luck, I guess. Um, but then if a dealer, the real issue is when a dealer sells something as running, and they should know better. Um, so in this case, with this chronograph or with this stopwatch, I don't think he necessarily tested it properly, or maybe something happened in shipping, which is always, it's nice to give people the benefit of the doubt, but that's a possibility which could happen. Like, fine, he's going
Yeah.
to do it right. He's going to fix it. So I don't really mind. But it's when a watch is sold to you as like ready to sell or like retail ready, and it's clearly not, or like it needs an acrylic or it needs a good polish. Then the acrylic polish. I don't like polishing watches. Um, yeah, I have a world timer here, which is the showing the grey dial for the Japanese Olympics in 1964,
You were thinking
which is
about
pretty
keeping
great.
that one, right?
I've wanted one for a while, and this is probably one of the better condition ones I've ever seen. Um, it's unpolished, very sharp case, and like the dial is such a great grey sunburst. It's just
Also,
kind of do want it.
world timers are one of those dials that are so busy they look good. It's just kind of how it is.
Yeah, this is busy around the edge, but it's clean in the middle. Like it's well executed. And I don't mind. I mean, the date complication kind of cuts into it, but I don't mind. It's useful.
Is it a 4 o'clock date or a 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock. Yeah, so you can see that there.
Yep.
But I like the handset. I like the function, and it's 37, 38 mil, so very comfy. Yeah, big fan of this one. Cool. So thanks, guys. That's been episode 3 of the 12 GMT podcast. It's currently 11:53 p.m. Yeah, good talk to you, Gabe. We'll get going next week, I guess,
Yep.
and hopefully get this published on time. But
I hope so.
yeah, good seeing you. Thanks everyone for watching. Follow us on Instagram. That'll be links below. And subscribe here to see episode 4.
All right. See you guys.